that. So we're in the process of debating the amendments on the table from Councillor Holton. Councillor Coyne raised the question around amending an amendment. I don't know if you want to address that at the moment, Councillor Coyne.
Thanks, Commissioner. Yes, after long and considerable good discussions, I have been persuaded that it is in the learning estate survey, state condition survey, all of the matters raised by St Mungo's will become part of that process. Those things will be looked at in the round, and that's covered effectively by what that's already done. It's in progress, and St Mungo's requirements can be looked at again in that context. For that reason, I don't see any purpose in going further with my amendment. I withdraw my amendment. I withdraw that.
Okay, thank you. So where we are is we're still debating the amendments put forward by Councillor Holden. Are there any other contributions to that debate, Father Michael?
Yesterday, I emailed a statement from the Bishop of Dunkeld. I'm just going to read that out so it can be part of the record for the meeting. It's a statement to Clackmannanshire Council on behalf of Andrew Mackenzie, the Roman Catholic Bishop of Dunkeld. Convener, leader, provost, councillors and officials, I send you my greetings and thank you for allowing Father Michael Carey, my church representative, to Clackmannanshire Council to make this statement. I have been briefed on the events that have led to this meeting and on the consultation process which was undertaken following a report to Clackmannanshire Council on 21st of March this year, which ran from 17th of April to 31st of May. I am grateful for the time and effort taken to include church representatives in this procedure, as well as a desire to conduct the consultation not only in line with the requirements of legislation, but also with a view to finding a solution during these times of financial difficulty. Previously in letters to parishioners and subsequently to councillors, Canon Kevin Golden, the then diocesan administrator, expressed the Catholic Church's opposition both to the proposed permanent relocation of St Mungo's to Alloa Academy and the way in which the consultation was conceived and proposed. I have no wish to repeat the arguments, except to say that our opposition remains, and indeed, if anything, has been strengthened by the subsequent discussion we've had with parents and members of the community in Alloa from both schools involved. Copies of letters can be made available. Having now looked at the results of the consultation, two things are abundantly clear. Firstly, the vast majority of those who responded to the consultation are against the proposed permanent relocation of St Mungo's to the building which also houses Alloa Academy. Secondly, the report by Education Scotland addressing educational aspects of the proposal by Clackmannanshire Council to permanently relocate St Mungo's Roman Catholic Primary School to the state of Alloa Academy of August this year, while acknowledging the potential educational benefits that might follow the housing of St Mungo's in a modern building such as Alloa Academy with possible access to good facilities, states, and I quote from the summary of the report, stakeholders have concerns about the current arrangements that would need to be addressed to fully achieve these benefits. Almost all stakeholders do not support the proposal to permanently relocate St Mungo's Roman Catholic Primary School within Alloa Academy. If the proposal goes ahead, the Council should provide further detail on how it intends to address stakeholder concerns. This should include addressing practical issues such as provision of toilets. It should also explore with stakeholders how best to support the identity of St Mungo's RCPS within a shared facility. I understand the financial constraints the Council and the country currently face. However, I do believe some better compromise is achievable. I ask in the light of the Council's own consultation, which has shown overwhelming opposition to the proposal, that Clackmannanshire Council reconsider and engages in a new process with all stakeholders to provide reasonable provision for Catholic education in Alloa, that allows our young people to grow in faith and learning, and which also creates space for the learning community of Alloa Academy to achieve their full potential as good citizens and effective contributors to society. Surely these considerations must be at the heart of all that we do. Concretely, this would mean that, ideally, the present situation with regard to the location of St Mungo's in the same building as Alloa Academy must be officially acknowledged as temporary, while a permanent solution is found, preferably with St Mungo's being housed in a separate, standalone and decent facility. If relocating St Mungo's to a separate building proves to be impossible, that the Council engage meaningfully with the learning communities, architects, educational specialists in the Catholic Church and commit financial and material resources to redesign the current building housing Alum Academy and St Mungo's, so that the maximum educational benefit be derived for both learning communities. This would be seen by all as a real partnership. Right now, it is unclear whether the Council is proposing to look at revisioning of the site. If the Council does engage with all stakeholders in a new and meaningful process which seriously considers other options, the Catholic Church will work tirelessly with the Council to find a solution. If, however, the Council decides to ratify the proposed permanent relocation of St Mungo's to the Alum Academy building, with no real guarantee or clear indication that they will spend both time and substantial funds to bring the present site up to a standard that would properly house both learning communities and enable the young people of Alum to flourish, then the Church will have no recourse other than to appeal and approach the relevant authorities in an effort to have the decision overturned. This would lead, I believe, to the Church and the Council being at odds with one another and would create tension in the community. I would ask the Council to think very carefully about the consequences of the decision. Thank you for listening to the statement, and I'm willing any time to engage with Clackmannanshire Council, both personally and through my representatives, to support our common aims to provide decent and modern educational facilities to our young people. Signed, Andrew Mackenzie, Bishop of Dunkeld.
Thank you, Father. Is that you concluded? Thank you. Councillor McCluckie.
Thanks, Convener. I found myself agreeing quite strongly with one of the first things that Councillor Holden said, and that was being that the choice to effectively permanently relocate the school, there's an inevitability. It's, for those familiar with the phrase, essentially Hobson's choice we're faced with in that respect. But what the paper really wants us to do is make that decision and then go and look at what changes can be implemented to put in to bring the school up to the spec that everybody wants it to be. But as has already been pointed out, because it's co-located within Alum Academy, it's a Class A school, my fear there is that there's going to be difficulties providing justification to go and put that in there. Which brings me back to the amendment. Really all the amendment's looking to do here is provide guarantees of those changes. Rather than make the permanent relocation decision first and then look at what changes can be put in, really what the amendment's asking is, we'll look at what changes are required, we'll fully plan them, we'll fully cost them, we'll get agreements in place with Amy, we'll get stakeholder engagement and buy-in, and once all that's in place, then we'll make the permanent relocation decision. And that to me makes much more common sense than relocate it permanently first and then we'll look at the changes. And I think for a community point of view and getting their buy-in to it, certainly for the last letter the parent council put in, to me they've alluded to that if that was in place first, there would be much more acceptance of a permanent relocation there, rather than promises of what's going to be done in the future, given that they've been there 6 years already and there's still a raft of work's needing done. So I think if there was guarantees in place first, you would almost certainly get the stakeholder buy-in that would give more justification to the permanent relocation. And for that reason, that's why I support the amendment from Councillor Holden. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other contributions to the debate? Councillor Lee.
Thanks, Chair. I think a lot of the questions were asked during the original paper aimed at getting down to the bottom of getting all of these issues resolved. And I think I'd be willing to accept in good faith that the permanence issue and getting that nailed down is going to lead to a resolution in a lot of these issues. And I believe that we can work together to do that. Regarding point 3 of the motion, the sale of the land, I'm not sure where I sat on that, and I believe there's a lot of further debate to be had around that and the best use of that. So at this moment in time, I'm probably against the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to contribute? Councillor Lindsay.
Thanks, Convener. I've given obviously a lengthy kind of proposal of the previous paper, but in speaking directly to the amendment, I'll not go over some of the original arguments that I've made in terms of why I think we should make a decision and not defer that decision. So I think I've made that clear. So that's why obviously I can agree with the first part. I think we need to get on and make the decision. The second part is obviously the action plan. Now I can hear the arguments for that, but it's always been and always will be, and Lorraine articulated that the role of officers to produce a learning estate strategy that looks at the wider learning estate, that looks at the needs of St Mungo's, but looks at all our estate. And it's always been my view, and it is my view, that that should continue to be the case. Our role as councillors is to make decisions, big decisions like these today, around policy decisions. It is then up to our council officers, it's then up to us to empower our council officers to make those operational, managerial at times, and significant decisions, but these are operational areas that we need to allow officers to go away, which they're already doing, in terms of condition surveys that have been completed, that have been handed back, options appraisals around schools, which we're well aware of, and bring that back as part of the wider strategy. So that's the reason why we can't support the action plan. I understand how that may seem like, look, that makes sense, we bring back an action plan, but my other challenge with that would be, what do we do then? When we have an action plan in front of us, we then have to go through these points and determine what do we do, what do we not do. That's the role of officers in my view. The third point, and for officers to make recommendations. The third point, I've highlighted that again in my proposal in the paper. I have real concern around that. It's something I've taken note of in terms of other members across the room in terms of their view on that. But it's something, we've all given commitments at various times, and we've all highlighted that. That was a commitment, and that was something that really dogged that particular committee, and certainly the correspondence that I had in the months and years after 2018 was that was still going to happen. The council were going to sell that land off for housing, and that's the reason that we're in this situation. So, the assurance I gave at that time was the commitment that I outlined earlier, and again, for that reason, I have real difficulty in supporting that particular point. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other contributions to the debate? So if there aren't, we'll go to the vote on the amendment. Councillor Holmes.
Ask for a roll call vote, please.
Of course, yeah.
So this is the roll call vote on the amendment proposed by Councillor Holden. Councillor Fairley, for or against?
Against?
Councillor Lee?
Against.
Councillor Lindsay?
Against.
Councillor McCluckie?
For.
Councillor Balsillie?
Against.
Councillor Keogh?
For.
Councillor Law? Against. Councillor Hamilton?
Against.
Councillor Rennie?
For.
Councillor McTaggart?
Against.
Councillor Earl?
For.
Councillor Forson?
Against.
Councillor Holden? For. Councillor Quinn?
For.
Councillor Harris? Sorry. Councillor Martin? Councillor Coyne?
Against.
And Father Carey? So that's one,
So-
two.
Sorry, just, I think it's a fair motion to make. Councillor Holden, you haven't actually voted. Could you declare your position? I know it's your motion, but more than I
For the man.
Okay, so the vote for the amendment is that 10 against and 8 for, so the amendment falls.
Come on, yeah.
So where we go now is we're back to discussing the original paper. It's open out for debate. Anybody wish to contribute to debate to the paper? No? Councillor Forson.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy decision to take today, and I think the kind of arguments around that have been said. Personally, this decision will cost me an issue, but you know, I'm here as a councillor, and as the council code of conduct says, we have a duty to consider the council and all of its communities as a whole, rather than just individual constituents of that. It's on that basis that I'm approving the paper and the recommendations today. I think it's been brought out really, really well that schools are more than a building, it's about an ethos and a culture. And I think very much St Mungo's it's continued to thrive within its current location. Attainment has improved, the school role has continued to increase. I think parents are kind of voting that they think it's a decent environment because they're choosing to send their children there rather than other schools. I think the permanent location of St Mungo's within Alloa Academy protects that, and I think that it gives us an opportunity to move on to make a decision over the asset that was the St Mungo's building and the land in relation to that. That will come to council in the future, and there will no doubt be discussions around that. And I think in coming to the decision and looking at the duty to consider, I suppose, the communities of Clackmannanshire as a whole, I think it's incumbent on us to look at the school estate and to consider the priorities that will come forward within that. And I think the decision today allows us to move forward and to do that. And there will be a school estate strategy brought forward, as has been said by officers, within the coming months. And we'll be able to use that again as an opportunity to weigh up the priorities and to make sure that, you know, that work is allocated and prioritised on a needs base. And I'm confident that it will do that, and we will have the ability to scrutinise that and to challenge officers when that does come forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other contributions to the debate, Councillor Holt?
I'm going to be brief about this. I think, sorry.
Brief about this, but I think this whole process has been a series of mistake after mistake after mistake, and it's culminated, and I think, in another mistake. The consultation, well, if we go back to initially when the council debated it, and I'm going to say this quite clearly to everybody that's here, we had an option that's put before us, and I thought that was wrong. I thought it was wrong then, I feel it's wrong now. You didn't go and ask somebody one question. It's just it makes a mockery of the whole process. I tried to introduce an amendment which would seek to broaden that out, because everybody knew that there was a broad range of opinions on what had happened to the school. We prevented that happening, we choked that. We choked them out there because what we did was we kept everything focused on the one option about relocation, and it was wrong. I think council actually acted ultra vires. It's my belief. I take advice from the Scottish Government through Edinburgh on that issue. I've not got the wherewithal to pursue that, but I think the council acted out with their powers and ruling that amendment wrong. And I think that was a mistake. We then go to the consultation process, and it's clear. We've got back there, you know, what people are saying. Everybody we asked, every group, and you can break them down into the groups, have said that they don't agree with the proposal. There was never going to be any suggestion that we weren't going to proceed with that proposal, because you can only proceed with it on the basis that there was one answer. There was only one question. The council were never going to agree to it. We're never going to go back and say, listen, we're not going to have all these consultations on other options, and then we're going to get to the final paper and we're going to come back and say, well, you know what, since everybody's all said no, we're going to go back and look at these other options. It was a fait accompli. It's an absolute mockery of the process. It's an absolute mockery. And I think it demeans us for doing that. And I think today, we had an opportunity. I mean, I've had to listen to some clever stuff today, but I mean, everything that was said in the letter from the Bishop was addressed. And it cost you nothing.
It cost you nothing to do it. All it required was goodwill. And also the willingness to take decisions. We are too acquiescent to officers, in my opinion. They're doing too much decisions. We need to take decisions ourselves, and they are not capable of doing it. So I'm going to bring up to the next meeting the Council a motion of no confidence in the current administration, because I think we need to resign over this issue. But that's my closing remarks on it, Convener, and I thank you for your patience today.
So I appreciate your closing remarks, Councillor Holmes. I'm getting way off what we're supposed to be discussing here in the paper. And the first point you made has already been addressed, and we came back to the council and gave the explanation around that. So I'm not having this getting dragged off into a meeting that's already dealt with the issue previously. I get the fact you've got strong feelings about it.
Well, it's context,
it's not the point we're discussing at the moment.
Well, it's context, and I decide what I say. No, you can
talk over the top of me when I'm convening.
Well, you can exclude me to the building if you wish.
Don't talk over the top of me when I'm convening the meeting.
Well, don't tell me what I can and can't say.
Well, you can't talk over the convener.
As long as I'm not speaking out with the paper, which I wasn't.
Anybody else want to contribute to this debate? Councillor Lindsay, do you want to sum up?
Just extremely briefly, I think Councillor Forson really summed things up in absolutely the right spirit of how we want to operate going forward. I think the only thing I want to extend is that, I understand the magnitude of the decision and the ripples, but we want to work very, very closely with the school community, with everybody in this room, as we outlined a few papers ago in terms of how we want to deliver our leadership. We have a different view, clearly, as to how we should deliver leadership throughout the whole council chamber here, clearly, but our view is that we take decisions and we empower our officers and staff to move these forward. We'll work with officers, we'll work with the church, we'll work with the school community, with teachers, with the young people themselves, to make sure that we create the best educational experience for them. They're in a safe space, in a good space, and we want to support that and strengthen that. And I'll leave it for that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So the paper asks us to agree that the proposal to permanently relocate St Mungo's Roman Catholic Primary School to the site of Alva Academy, and 2.3 to declare the property at 4th Crescent Alva surplus to requirements of the school estate. Are we in favour of the paper? We can, of course.
Thank you. So this is the roll call vote in relation to the report that has been put forward. Councillor Fairley?
For.
Councillor Lee? For. Councillor Lindsay?
For.
Councillor McCluskey?
Yes.
Councillor Balsillie?
For.
Councillor Keogh? Councillor Law?
For.
Councillor Hamilton?
For.
Councillor Rennie?
Against.
Councillor McTaggart?
For.
Councillor Earl?
Yes.
Councillor Forson?
For.
Councillor Holden?
Yes.
Councillor Quinn?
Against.
Councillor Harrison?
For.
Councillor Martin?
Yes.
Councillor Coyne?
For.
And Father Carey? Once. Same as last time.
So the roll call vote for that paper is 10 votes in favour, 8 against. So the paper will progress. It's 10 to 2, and I know there's only a couple of items left on the agenda, but I think for the staff and the officers themselves, I think we need to take a break for lunch. So we'll come back at 2:15.